Ah, dear. Who is texting me at this time of day? So, kids, I was thinking about war. I mean, I think about war on occasion anyway, just in like a general capacity of who we're at war with, who we're fighting, and why we're doing it, and whether there's the right reasons to do it, and whether it will actually solve anything. And my general belief is probably not, but that's a whole other conversation to have. But I recently saw an advert for the RAF. Now, the RAF for me is interesting because there's only certain jobs I'm allowed to do in the military because I'm colourblind. I'm unable to pilot a aircraft in the military because I am colourblind, and that's just one of those. And it's one of those annoying ones because it's like as soon as you know you can't do it, you suddenly think, maybe I really want to do that. Maybe I want to go out my way and get myself a jet and whatnot. And I've considered joining the army before. This isn't the first time. I considered it back in college. I mean, like UK college, so I would have been 17, 18 at the time. I considered it around then because I didn't want to go to university. I wanted to get an apprenticeship, or I wanted to go do something else, or get a job and do something, because I didn't want the cost of university. I ended up going to university, of course, because, if you're fighting entropy, why not just spend £30,000 or more on a degree which does nothing? That's irrelevant. But I've considered it before, and I was sat considering it again because I've been going through just some kind of not life-changing things, but some events which just made me consider where I am in my position and my age, because I'm 28. And I'm before that 30 barrier, and the 30 barrier is a thing. That is consistently a thing that you see it as a barrier, and you think, oh, after 30, I'm old. Before 30, I'm quite young, and whereas I've felt old for years. This isn't a new thing. But I was kind of thinking it's more in terms of education and all things like that, and being 28, that whether I could start a new career at this age. Because my parents have just retired, and I got thinking, oh well they could go do something new. They could learn, but at their age, by the time they learned something new or explored a new industry, they probably wouldn't be able to fully participate in that industry. They wouldn't be able to go out and achieve the same level as they had in their past lives because they were working for it for so long. And being 28, I thought, oh, well, I'm at the right age. If I wanted to start a new career, if I wanted to do something like engineering, or I wanted to be a doctor or a veterinarian, I'm at the age where I could do that. I could start that now and study for 5 or 6 years, and I'd be, 30, 35 maybe, as a doctor or, a practitioner of some sort, by the time I got there. And then I'd still be at the bottom, but I'd still have a good couple of decades of work left to do before I got to retirement age, and I could probably achieve within that field. Of course, the military offers apprenticeships and stuff like that. So this is how I came across this advert for the Air Force, because engineers, practitioners, all that kind of thing, the military needs a lot of these. It doesn't need artists, sadly. But it kind of popped up, and I was sat considering the military for a little while, and then considering war, and in a way, the participation of the military and the army and anything like that, for me, has always been kind of a double-edged sword. The idea of joining the army, all patriotism and country and all that kind of stuff, all of that aside, because that's something which we could discuss at another time. But just the idea of being in the military doesn't particularly faze me. The idea that I'd be putting myself in danger and dying at someone else's hands whilst that is a thing, and that's quite scary, that's not what stops me from wanting to join the military. My views on patriotism and how we use our military are generally what stops me from joining the military, and also not wanting to die. But there's this other little edge that is kind of a fear in a way of not knowing how you would react in those situations, of not knowing what you're capable of in a way, and holding yourself back. I think maybe it goes back to the other podcast I did where I discussed not being able to be angry, not allowing myself to be angry, and this idea of being in the military, because I have an appreciation for logic and doing things efficiently, and suddenly you're in a position where your job efficiently would be to kill people. And that's quite a scary thing, of having the capacity to be able to eliminate life in a more logical, efficient manner. Is obviously a wanted skill within warfare, as much as what warfare is protection, is attack. And then that maybe it concerns me. It's part of my personality which does concerns me, which brings me to the title of why you should pick the bard. So there's this running joke within D&D about bards. If you don't know, a bard is a person who joins the band of merry soldiers and wizards and witches and paladins and all your usual characters, your rogues, your thieves, all of those usual classes. And then there's the bard. The bard is generally a musician or artist in some capacity. I will quickly Google bard, so I'm not besmirching the name. According to Wikipedia, it's a medieval Gaelic British culture term. A bard was a professional storyteller, verse maker, music composer, employed by a patron. So, why would you want to be a bard? Now, in D&D, you want to be a bard because not only do they have musical ability and charisma and charm and all the things which make it easier to communicate with the non-player characters of the D&D world, they also have magic to some capacity. And they're usually quite nimble. And it's just generally just bring a bit of uplift to the party. And they can help you out in some strange ways. Their music is meant to adjust the vibration of the air and generally just up everyone within the group. That's their job. Their job is to strengthen an already impressive group, and that's quite a strange thing. But there's obviously this running joke that there's just a musician. You've got a group of people who are highly powerful and dangerous, and you have a ukulele player. Each to their own, but it's a musician, it's a poet. Which brings me to the whole idea of me joining the army. No, I'm not bad, I'm no musician. But I do classify myself as an artist. Or a wannabe artist, an amateur. And so, obviously I'm not magical. So I can't see myself as a D&D type bard. But I remember distinctly having this conversation with a friend of mine who we were on about the military and whether you join or what division of the military you might end up in. And the likelihood is, if I was to join the military, I would probably aim for something like a sniper, because I'm long-sighted and I'm colourblind, which makes me good in low light and I have long-distance shooting. Now, whether I can fire a sniper rifle successfully is completely off this. This is all hypothetical. I'm not suggesting it's easy to fire a gun in any way, shape, especially not a sniper rifle. But we were on about it and we were discussing it, and I said more, and I explained my theory of I'd be scared of what I'd do in the military. I'd be scared of what I would be capable of, and then how I could be used by the military to achieve their own end goals. And he couldn't quite understand it. I said, well, you got to consider. So if you've seen my illustrations and you've seen the work which I make, a lot of what I do is concept based. A lot of it is all just around concepts, and it's this idea of trying to generate discussion and feelings through imagery, and creation. And I do that okay. I think I've had people approach me and say, yeah, I'm really getting this concept. It represents a great deal to me, and I'm really happy you made this work. Which is fantastic, by the way. Thank you to anyone who's ever given me that encouragement. So I'm capable of doing that with a pen. I'm capable of making someone feel something, affecting their emotions and day, with a pen and paper. Now, take that skill of being able to impact someone's day, emotional, mental well-being, and then apply that to something as dangerous as weaponry. Imagine what I could do with a gun, is all I'm saying. And that terrifies me. Well, not terrifies me, but it does. It makes me consider how I would approach situations, because it comes back to this whole realm of concept value, which obviously it gets lost within the military, because within the military you are trained to be part of a unit. You're given direction, and the whole idea is you support each other as much as you support yourself. You support each other, because as a team you're much more effective and you're much more dangerous. So places for creativity just don't occur. But for someone where creativity comes naturally, there's a lot of room. I start thinking of it as back in medieval times and times where bards were profitable. A huge length and breadth went into symbolism, everything, because the world was much more superstitious. Wow, words, and that was a whole place within culture, was to create the symbolism. You went to war, so when you went to war, you took banners, you took flags, you had people giving renditions to the crowd. There'd be war drums, there'd be huge things which were just there to intimidate the enemy and to rile up your own troops, because you have drums playing, you're marching along, everything's to a rhythm, and everything kind of gets together, and so you feel more consistent as a unit. So your what is the word? Well, not your ego, but your anticipation of the battle, and there's that rise of bloodlust, and then someone gives a rousing speech, and these speeches are the same place as bards. And now in the military you have sergeants and lieutenants and all above, and they give speeches to their troops. They're there to give you strength, mental strength to kind of guide you through these battles, and to stoke you up, to get you hyped. That's what it comes down to. That's what all these things are about. And as much as that, back in medieval times, they used to mount heads on pikes, because they were traitors. They decapitate people and put their bodies on display to instill that fear. And it still happens within various cultures, not so much within British military, but at the same time, how we deal with prisoners is a lot about degradation, and how we deal with having captors and making people propaganda and everything. It all interlinks. And because I'm naturally gifted, it sounds stupid and overblown. I'm okay. Because I can do that, even when approaching any project or anything, I can't help but do that. I can't help give that significance to whatever I'm working on. And it'd be strange, or it'd be dangerous to take that into a warfield situation, a field where you are killing and maiming and eliminating things. It's just the classic symbolism of it. And given, the opportunity to bring that in, my brain wouldn't bat an eyelid. You give him permission to do something which is as powerful as taking a human life, and you give him permission to do it. So, your brain would click into key, and that's why people take bards. That's why people want to be bards, because not only are you skilled within a D&D realm of killing and magic and being a powerful fighter, but you're also the mental support for the group. You're there to inspire, to be a muse, and to terrify. You have control of not only, you might not be the best fighter in the group, you might not be the strongest in the group, you might not be the smartest in the group, but you have a skill which, for human beings, is so important, of just being able to control any situation by altering the mood of that situation. And whilst I do that for art, that's essentially all art exploration is attempting to alter someone's mood and thoughts and give them, provoke some sort of thought within them. It's all consensual. It's I make a piece of art, I put it on display, and somebody finds it and views it, and they're accepting, because it's registered on as a piece of art, that's what's happening. It's a communication between the viewer and the piece, and it's all consensual because they've chosen to view it, and they're viewing it as a piece of art. So there's the extra bit of communication which you don't even have to say, because it's known. It's context. It's context of the piece. So you make a picture and you put it on display, and they're like, cool, that's a picture, that is a piece of art, that is intended to trigger something within me. That's the whole point of it. So it's a conversation, but to do that to someone without their consent as a way of intimidation or manipulation is something which makes me very uncomfortable. And it's something which I know I'm capable of, because I've done it in the past, regrettably, of just imposing your will mentally on some people. Having an adage of concept to anything increases the power of it, and concept is something which I do very well. So it's that question of, why would you pick the bard? Why would you pick a poet, an artist, to take them to war? It's because whilst killing one another and fighting doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, there are those who know how to tug at the heartstrings and know how to wedge that little bit of fear in your mind, doing things you wouldn't even thought of, just naturally. I've got to stop applying a concept value to everything. I'll never get anything done. It's disgraceful, really. But have you ever considered it? You ever sat thinking how you'd react if you were conscripted, sent into the military, where you would end up? That's something which I've thought about. Something about which I've thought about recently as well. And no, I don't see myself joining the military anytime soon. But, World War may be around the corner again, as is always the way. And whilst the media is doing a very good job of playing a bard right now, imagine what happens when you take artists into battle. I'll talk to you guys later.